My name is Salva. I'm a principal program manager at Microsoft. I've been a web developer for about, well, a lot of years now. We just won't talk about the number of years. Was an entrepreneur for 9 years before I came to Microsoft. Worked for agencies for a number of years as well. And I came to Microsoft about 5 years ago because, well, frankly, Microsoft had a lot of really, really talented C# developers, but they had less really talented and knowledgeable JavaScript developers. And so I kind of came on board to help them figure out their JavaScript story, figure out tooling for it, and I ended up wandering into the React Native space. So let's see if we can make this guy work here. Oh, yeah. Magic happened. Hey, magic happens. All right. So tonight, at least for my formal presentation, we're going to talk a little bit about automating your build pipeline and automating really as much of your workflow as possible so that you can release more often with higher confidence, right? And so we'll go through a bunch of services, but it's all going to be in the context of building a React Native app. And I'm just going to go ahead and warn everyone off the bat. There are so many moving parts in this demo, the chances of everything going all to hell are really, really high. So we're going to break some things, and hopefully by the end of it, you all will actually be able to kind of work with me to build a fully automated pipeline, get an app installed on your own phones, maybe even hit a couple of bugs along the way, and fix them. And we'll have done all of that in a little bit less than an hour. Sound like fun? Yeah? Yeah, awesome. I mean, if not, you all have glasses of, like, you know, champagne and Prosecco in your hand. Just drink until it becomes fun, right? All right, cool. So here's the thing. I don't know about you guys, but everyone here, we're all developers of some kind, or aspiring developers? Yeah, okay, cool. So this is how I think about my day. My day is I get into the office and I just code awesome features all day long. I'm just crushing it, killing it every day, right? In fact, that's probably not exactly how it happens. It probably starts with the, 10 minutes for getting coffee, most important part of your day. Then, all right, I might spend a little bit of time reading Hacker News because we like to stay informed, like to know what's going on. Sometimes that grows to be a little bit more time than it should be, but we do what we can to dial it back and bring it back to something manageable. And after I read my Hacker News, well, I code for a while and then I gotta do a build. Okay, that's pretty normal. Builds take time. But then after I do a build, I should probably go back and I should write some unit tests and run those and make sure that they work all right. And after I've done my unit tests, then I need to run some manual tests as well because the shit never works the same when you actually install it somewhere, so you got to confirm and verify. And after I've done my own manual testing, well, then I probably need to pass it off to someone else so that they can beta test it because, I always just go the happy path and other people have a tendency to click around and do other things. So beta testing is important. Okay. And then after that, they're probably running into a bunch of bugs. And so now I've got to triage all of my bugs and I got to figure out what is the most important thing for me to fix today. All right, that takes a little bit of time. And then after I've triaged, then I need to go back and I need to debug and fix that stuff. And by the end of it, my day looks like a totally fragmented hard drive. Circe, I don't know, was that 1998? Does anyone recognize this dialogue? Right? Yeah, right? That's what my day looks like, totally fragmented. And the truth of the matter is that doesn't just happen once in the cycle of a day. That happens 1, 2, 3 times as I cycle through this entire process over and over again. And so that typical day is super fragmented, and it's not just for one app. I mean, how many of us in here manage to focus all of our time on just one single app? I don't know about you, but I end up maintaining, I've got a side project that I work on, I got a main app that I work on, and every once in a while I got to help debug someone else's one. It gets multiplied out by your number of clients, by the demands of your manager, by the side projects that you have, your side hustle. And so this creates a really, really fragmented day. And so what you end up with is about 50% of your time that's actually coding awesome features, and the other 50% that is all the overhead, all the shit that you don't really want to be spending time doing, but you have to get your job done. So as developers, or at least most of the developers I've talked to, and maybe you guys can kind of say the same, what we find is that we kind of try to insulate ourselves from all of that complexity, all of that overhead, by surrounding ourselves with a number of different services that hopefully kind of take a little bit of the sting out, right? They automate it. Maybe we've got crash reporting to help us kind of figure out what bugs need to be fixed. Maybe we've got the ability to distribute our app out to some beta testers, whether it's through Fastlane or Hockey App or something like that. Maybe you've got some automated UI testing that you're doing in there somewhere. But kind of in a worst case scenario, what you've probably done is you've actually taken and you've built that app and you've hand delivered it to your beta testers. And you sat over their shoulder while they were doing something and asked them, how do you like that? Does that work for you? Are there bugs there? And that's shitty. That takes a lot of time. In a best case scenario, many of us might have set up a CI server, a continuous integration server, something like Jenkins, right? Where you've got an automated server linking all those different pieces together. And I don't know about you, but a lot of the people I've talked to, when they set up that CI server, the first time they set it up, it takes a lot of time. Especially if you've got any kind of complexity in your build pipeline. It can take 3, 4, maybe even up to 6 months in order to do that initial configuration. And then you've only got one guy in the office who actually knows how that whole thing's put together. Like, God help you if that person decides to go jump ship, go somewhere else, gets hit by a bus, I don't know, wins the lottery and goes to the Bahamas, whatever they end up doing. So, not only does it take a lot of time, but you end up with a bunch of different services that are strung together, right? And every single one of those might cost, I don't know, $29.99 a month. A couple $1,000 a month if it's data storage kind of stuff. And all of those together add up to a lot of monthly overhead. You also end up with all these different services that have their own data. And because they've got these data silos, right, where the data with your crash reporting doesn't necessarily get kind of connected to your user database. So you never know when there's a crash who it's actually from, what individual, right, suffered through that pain in your app. Maybe your analytics data, likewise, is hooked up to your user database. And having all those data silos means that you are less informed and make poorer decisions because you're not working with all of the information, right? And last but not least, you end up layering on many, many SDKs. Now, sometimes that's okay. You're just like, oh, sweet, another SDK. That solves my problem. Stick that sucker in there, right? Just another package, why not? Right? But really what ends up happening is all those SDKs layered on top of each other end up adding a lot of bloat to your application. Not only is there the potential for conflicts between the SDKs, but also you're adding in a lot of extra kilobytes and megabytes to that. And especially when your target customer, maybe they're in an emerging market, right, where their phones only have 4 gigabytes of data by default. Or maybe they're in a situation where they don't have a lot of bandwidth to even download those large packages, those large apps. You can end up kind of isolating yourself from a large amount of their potential addressable market. And that's not good. Here's a great example I always love to give. So my dad's a carpenter, right? And he's using a phone, seriously, I don't know, it's got to be from 2010 or something like that. And that sucker probably only has 2 gigabytes of data on it. And every time that he wants to install a new app, he gets a little warning sign that says, sorry, out of space. And so my dad hasn't installed any new apps in about 4 years, right? That's exactly the situation that you don't want to be in. You don't want, well, my dad's a lovely person, but you don't want to be in a situation where your customers cannot install your apps because you've added on too much bloat, too many SDKs. So, let's take all of these together, let's try and mix them up, and let's try and combine them together in a way that allows us to kind of consolidate the SDKs, still allows us to insulate ourselves with all these services, and hopefully automate it all together. So today, I'm going to be using a product, at least in part, that my team has built, called Visual Studio Mobile Center. That's not going to be all that I use though, right? So here's me calling the shots. Here's what we're going to do today, if everything goes well. everything's not going to go well. It's going to break. I'm just telling you that right now. But if everything did go well, we're going to create a terrible, awful joke app. It's going to tell terrible jokes. I had to get jokes into the presentation because everyone likes to laugh, and I'm not very funny myself. So we're going to create a joke app. Then we're going to build it in the cloud. We'll distribute, hopefully, to everyone in the room. So everyone will be able to install the app in the next like 10, 15 minutes, right? Once we've got it installed, it's going to crash. I'm going to tell you guys the secret right now. It's going to crash. Then we're going to debug it based upon the crashes that you guys experienced. We're going to take a look at some of the user engagement to get a better idea of what phones it was crashing on, why it was crashing. And then we're going to push a live update to everyone in the room that skips kind of deployment through the App Store and just automatically updates it dynamically through the magic of React Native and CodePush. Sound like a fun time? Yeah. All right. Sweet. All right. So with all that in mind, let's see. Do I have anything else to share with you here? I think we're good. Okay. Now is when we get to code. This is where things break. Slides always go forward. They never break. Code, on the other hand, not so much. All right, so let's make that bigger. We're going to try to make that a little bit bigger. Is that kind of legible-ish? Yeah, I can read it? All right. All right, so first thing we want to do is just invoke React Native init. It does exactly what you guys would expect it would do. It's basically going to initialize a template project. In this particular case, I'm just going to name it after our city, so Bratislava. And this is going to take a minute. All right. For those of you, I'm sure probably most of you are familiar with Yarn by now. Yeah. It's kind of like the new NPM, but better because it has emojis. Right. Okay, so, Salva. All right, cool. So now we're just in here. And actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and we're going to React Native. Actually, I'm going to open it up in code first. Code dot. All right, cool. Open that guy up. Let's go ahead and run it in iOS. All right, that's going to kick off an Xcode build in the background. So even though it's not opening up Xcode, we're actually invoking all of the kind of Xcode build systems behind the scenes. And it's going to open up the iOS simulator and deploy it there. I would assume, how many of us have actually built with Xcode before? Are we web developers, mobile developers? All right, so a handful of you. Those of you that have not enjoyed kind of the pleasures of building for Xcode, it takes a long time the first time. So that's where we're starting it now. While this guy's building, let's go on over to code and take a look at how this project is structured. So the basic premise behind React Native is that it allows you to take, React.js and apply it to mobile application development. That is to say, iOS, Android, and Windows development. So even though I'm using a syntax that looks an awful lot like React.js for web, all of it ultimately takes advantage of the fact that React has that virtual DOM, right? It provides an abstraction layer through those components. And usually when you're building React.js for web, it's going to translate those components into div tags and span tags, right? In the case of React Native, it's just going to say, you know what? Let's not bother with a web interface. Instead, let's actually build out the native UI controls for iOS and Android. So a navigation panel, a view, a text panel, that kind of thing, right? So one of the things you're going to notice here is that it just started up. It opened up this new window here, right? Let's actually zoom in on that guy. It opened up this new window. This is the React packager. The trick of React Native is that while it's rendering native UI, what it's actually doing is it's running a node process in the background in JavaScript core. And that's what's happening here. This window that you see here is literally that node process that is running our application. And it is in turn talking to our simulator. Let's actually see if our simulator is started up. Okay, not there yet. It'll get there in a second. Eventually this guy will start up. And our packager then is running all of the the actual logic of our app. And then the simulator, all it has to do is just kind of dumbly that's a word, dumbly? Yeah, we're going to go with that. Dumbly display the UI. So it's just a thin layer to display UI. All right, so while that guy's up and doing its thing, we're going to take a look at the actual structure of our project. All right, so the idea behind React Native is that about, let's call it 70% of your code is shared code, right? And then for your UI layer, you're probably going to want to do some amount of customization. So in that spirit, there is an index.ios.js and an index.android.js. And this allows me to kind of tweak the UI a little bit based upon the destination platform, the destination operating system, right? So I'm going to do most of my initial stuff in iOS. So let's see, actually, does it start up? Oh, yay, it started. All right, so you guys can see here, I mean, it's simple. It just says, welcome to React Native. It's your basic boilerplate out of the box thing. But we're going to go ahead, we're going to start kind of modifying this code a little bit. I told you we're going to create a terrible joke app. To save you guys from watching me actually typing the whole damn thing, I've got a couple of little shortcuts for myself. So I'm just going to copy paste a little bit here. Trust me, it's more exciting than watching me type all this out. I'll explain it in just a moment. So I'm first adding in my view. Again, if you've done React before, all this should look fairly familiar. I'm going to add in here a couple of methods to work with here. This is a handle press method, which is essentially going to take care of going out and fetching the joke from via a RESTful API. Then I'm going to add in a little something for our analytics, right? And then do I want anything else right now? No, we're just going to hang out right there. Okay, so I'm invoking a view. I've got a little bit of text here. That text is pulling from the state the joke. And then on clicking this button here, I'm going to invoke the handle press method. That handle press method is going to go out. It's going to fetch from HTTPS iconhasdadjoke.com. It's a free API. You guys are welcome to use it at home for fun and for profit. And then when it gets back the joke, it's just going to put that guy onto the page. Super simple app. Today is not about building advanced UI. Today is about automating our pipeline. All right. One thing that we will need to do here is we will need to import the component for the button, because that one wasn't added by default. And let's just here refresh. Okay. I am not laughing. That's okay. We don't have to laugh yet. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Okay, that's a little bit better. All right, so we're just going to click on this guy. What's Forrest Gump's Facebook password? 1Forrest1. All right. Can I watch the TV? Dad, yes, but don't turn it on. What's red and bad for your teeth? A brick? These are all the laughs you're going to get all night. This is it. All right, so we got a good joke app going. All right, that's awesome. Let's hear. So now let's actually start doing something fun with this. So we're going to start automating this build pipeline here. So for that, I'm going to go ahead. So I've navigated here. I'm sure it's impossible to read, but I'm going to mobile.azure.com. So if you guys kind of want to use the tool, that's the place to go to, mobile.azure.com. And you'll notice here that I can log in a number of different ways. In this case, what I really want to do is I want to connect Multicenter to my source code repository, which we're ultimately going to put in GitHub, right? So I'm going to connect via GitHub. All right, now once I'm in here, I've got a bunch of different apps. Basically what's happening here is that Multicenter is indexing my GitHub repositories, and it's finding all the stuff that looks like a mobile application in some way. And so these are the things that look like a mobile application. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a new app. I'm going to give it a name called Bratislava, iOS. This is a demo app for Reactive Meetup in Bratislava. You'll see here that I've got the opportunity to choose, this is all legible, I've got the opportunity to choose which platform I'm building for. We're going to start by building for iOS, and then I've got the opportunity to choose which framework I'm going to be using. So I can use Objective-C or Swift, I can use React Native, or I can use Xamarin. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, Xamarin is another cross-platform framework using C#, and then I assume we all know what Swift and Objective-C are. But today, we're here to talk about React Native. So we're going to add that new app. Cool. And now this is going to tell us how to get started. We just need to import a couple of SDKs, and it's going to give us an API key that we're going to need later on. Right? Before we do that, I want to make sure that all of you can install this app. So to do that, I'm going to create a distribution group. All right, we're just going to call this testers. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add myself to this. Now, I could ask all of your email addresses and just type it in up here, but that doesn't seem like it would take too long. So instead, now that I've created this group, if you guys have your phones out or something like that, I'm going to ask you to go to this URL. Yoink. http://aks.ms/git-that-app. I'll leave it up there for just a second. I'll also make sure that it works here myself. Here, let's http://aks.ms/git-that-app. It should bring you to this page, right? So I'm going to go back to it. MS get that app. We good? Thumbs up? Yeah? All right, fantastic. So, for this, I am using Google Forms. And this is one of the first places where I want to show where we're doing some kind of nifty automation here. So Multicenter is effectively built on a set of RESTful APIs. And with what I'm doing here is I created a Google form, and then with that Google form, I attached it to a set of Google functions. So, let's actually zoom in a bit here so you can kind of see it. You'll see what I'm doing here is every time you guys fill it out, there's my API token. I will be changing this after the conference, so none of you suckers are going to be able to hack me. But then I'm just going to do a simple RESTful call. And when I do it, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to add at the app name, at the phone operating system, to a distribution group called testers, right? So everything that you are seeing today in Multicenter is built on these APIs. If you don't want to use the dashboard, you want to integrate any of these services with your Jenkins server or whatever else, you just use these APIs to do the same kind of thing, right? But today, we're using them to get you guys into our test group. All right, so now you know the magic behind that. So if I hit refresh here, if my thing was actually right, come on baby, come on baby. This is my first chance where things can go wrong. Yes, sweet. All right, sorry, there's a little, yeah, thank you. That deserves applause. I felt really good about that. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm overcome with joy. That was really amazing. Okay, sweet. So part one is done. All of our testers are in. All right, so now that we've got you in, we can go ahead and we can add in our SDKs and start to distribute this out to you. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go back to our getting started one. It's going to ask us to npm install two little SDKs here. Now, like I said, I really prefer emojis, so I'm going to use yarn instead. But that's okay. It's the same thing either way. All right. So I'm adding in two SDKs, Multicenter, actually three, excuse me. Multicenter Analytics, Multicenter Crashes, and CodePush. Now, tonight was probably the first time most of you have heard about Multicenter. Who here has heard of CodePush before? Yeah, if you've done any kind of React Native development, you've probably at least come across CodePush at some point. So my team released CodePush about 2 years ago, maybe now, maybe a year and a half ago. CodePush is actually moving into Multicenter. So all of this will merge together. We made our first step towards integrating the two actually 3 weeks ago. And they're only going to get tighter and tighter integration as the months go on. So we're done. We know because there's sparkles. That's great. So now we got that in there. All right, make sure I got. Now we actually need to get our CodePush keys. So I'm going to do a little thing here. I'm going to create another tab here. And I've got a little snippet here for that one as well. Look, here's our CodePush keys. So this one was called Bratislava-iOS default. So what is this saying? This is saying, okay, use the CodePush CLI, and I want to add deployment keys for Bratislava iOS, which is the name of my app. And what I want to add here is I want to add just the default keys that, kind of the out-of-the-box standard ones, right? So I'm going to add these guys in here. Come on, interwebs. Okay, I don't need applause after that one. That was just a command. All right, so now we got a key there for that one. And now we can do a React Native link. For those of you that may be unfamiliar with React Native link, basically what it's going to do is it says, okay, you've got these SDKs and that you want to add in here, but you don't want to go through all the hassle of essentially updating the Xcode file and the plist file and the Android project and all that stuff. So React Native link is just going to kind of do some of the smarts for us. It's kind of like Yeoman-ish for a React Native project, maybe. All right, so React Native link. So you can see here, it's scanning, and it's immediately going to ask to configure Mobile Center. It's going to ask for that Android app secret. All right, so I've got another Android app that I already created over here, just because creating the whole project twice would have been kind of boring. So I'm just going to grab the key from that one. Paste that in there. All right, starts with D, ends with D. It's always good to double check your API key. Starts with D, ends with D. Enable automatically. What's the iOS app secret? Let's go back over here and get our iOS one. Starts with E, ends with 7. Starts with E, ends with 7. This is how you avoid things breaking in demos. Enable automatically. I think that should be okay. This is one of the first times where things can break. Let's find out. Automatically. iOS app secret, sure. Automatically. And now it wants a CodePush deployment key for Android. So let's actually go back over here and get it for Android. Oops. CodePush deployment ls dash Slava dash Android dash K. Let's hope I got that right. Oh yeah, sweet. All right. We got a key here for Android. So many windows open. All right. Starts with L, ends with 6. Starts with L, ends with 6. CodePush deployment key for iOS. All right. That one's over here. Starts with W, ends with 6. 6. All right. Fantastic. All right. If everything went well, that worked. All right. There's 2 more things that we need to do because every new project, you got to sign that sucker, right? So both for iOS and for Android, you're going to need to provide your provisioning profile and your key store. So this one thing you have to do only once, the first time you create a React Native one, because both the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store need to know that you are trustworthy and that your package is worthy of actually installing, right? So for that, I'm just going to create kind of just a dummy key store for Android. Actually, we already have this one here, so let's hear the Android keys. It's going to ask my first and last name. I am private, so I'm not going to let it know. My organization, nope, nope, nope. You get to know nothing about me. I'm paranoid. Yes. Cool. All right, so that generated my key store. And let's also go ahead and open up Xcode so that we can sign the sucker. Right, and in Xcode here, we're going to say, I know it's super small, but basically all that we're doing here is we're going to use a little wildcard certificate to sign this guy so that we can get it out to all of you. All right, cool. That is good to go. Let's close that. Close that. All right, let's get this guy into GitHub now. We're going to create a new repository called Bratislava. Bratislava, create repository. This is so that we can get it ultimately into that cloud build on every commit. So the idea here is that we want to be in a place where every time we make a code change and we commit it to a branch, the cloud automatically picks it up, builds it, and distributes it out to all of our users, right? To all of you as our testers. So, back over here, we're just going to clean this up a little bit. So git init, git add a, git commit dash m, first commit, add our origin, all right, now, if everything worked all right, this guy is now in our source code repository. All right, this is exciting. This is a moment of truth here. So now we're going to configure our build, and once that build is configured, now we have an opportunity, now we have an opportunity to distribute it out to all of you. God, I hope this works. All right, so let's head on up to Mobile Center here. So on the side here, you can see we've got a number of different services that are available here, right? So build, test, distribute, crashes, analytics, and push notifications. Build is what's going to be what kicks it all off. We're going to go ahead and connect it to that source code repository. And so far, we've only created one branch. It's just on the master branch. Now, if you're doing this, I don't know, both responsibly in a more complex project, you're clearly going to have multiple branches that you're working with. You probably want to create different branches for different distribution groups. So, for example, you might have a branch that's releasing to your beta testers. You might have another branch that's just releasing to your internal development team, and then a very special branch that's releasing to maybe your client or your CEO or whoever it is. And then finally another one, again, that's going to actually release to the App Store, right? We're going to just do it all on the master today for simplicity's sake. We're just going to say set up this branch. All right. So you can see here we can choose our scheme, which version of Xcode we want to build on. We can choose to run unit tests off of it. But we're going to need to sign the builds no matter what in order to get it installed on your phones. So here, let's go ahead and pick up a provisioning profile. We've got a couple certificates saved right here. And here, 12. I assure you that is a very secure password. No one guessed it. It's long. All right, so from here we could go ahead and test this guy on devices, right? But because, frankly, testing on devices usually takes about 10 to 15 minutes for it to actually install on devices, I'm not going to tie it into this one, but I'll show you another project where we did run tests on devices. I want to make sure that we all finish in a reasonable amount of time. But we do want to distribute it, and we want to distribute to all of you beautiful testers out here once it's done building. So with that, I can hit save, and now, as soon as it kind of wraps it up, it's essentially going to kind of spin up a VM in the cloud. This is actually going to spin up a Mac VM where we've got kind of Xcode and a bunch of other stuff installed, and it's going to go out to our source code repository. It's going to suck up all the code. It's going to do a build. Once the build is finished and it's actually successful, then it's going to pass that build right on back over to all of you as an email notification, right? This is going to take probably about 6 to 7 minutes. So while that's happening, while it's doing its build, we're going to take a tour of some of the other stuff, and then we'll come back to the build so that you guys can see it on your phones. Sound good? Yeah. All right. Excellent. God, I hope this guy builds. I really do. I hope this guy builds. If not, I do have a backup. We have insurance policies. Okay. So we talked a little bit about automated UI testing as being an important part of this, right? You don't necessarily want to kind of build your project, distribute it out to your client or your customer base or even like internal beta testers and have your mainline scenarios just automatically fail, stuff that you know should always work. So this is where automated UI testing comes in really handy. So let's find one here. I happen to know there's some on Bike Rider. So Bike Rider is an app. It's I don't know. Does Bratislava has bike sharing, like bikes that the city owns or something like that, and anyone can pick them up and use them? Is that a thing you guys have? Yeah. More or less, something kind of like that. Okay. So this is an app so that you can reserve your bike, right? Seattle actually has a bike sharing program, and that's what this was built for. So here's what's going to happen. When the app gets built, and before it actually ever goes out to our beta testers, it gets handed over to a data center. We've got 2 data centers, one that's in Denmark and one that's in the US. And these data centers are freaking incredible. They really are. They're amazing to walk into. So it's like any other data center that you've ever probably been in, right? It's got like the raised floors and static-free kind of entrance. And all the guys are wearing lab coats. Actually, they're not wearing lab coats, but it'd be cool if they did. And but instead of all of the servers, instead what there are is they're just row after row after row of devices, right? And every single one of them is just tethered with a little USB cord, but it's got like a black piece of tape over the cover. In part to like keep from blinding all of the technicians as they walk by because these things are bright. But also to protect your privacy as a developer, right? You don't necessarily want any Joe Schmo who's working in a data center to be able to see your app that's maybe kind of before release, right? You're trying to keep the lid on it, right? And so it'll install the app on the device. It will then run a set of automated UI tests. You can choose what language you want to write those UI tests in. You can write it in Calabash. You can write it in XCUI test. We're adding in support for Jest right now. You can write it in Appium, and one more that I always forget, but you can find it in our documentation. So there's a lot of different ways that you can write these tests. And what it'll do is it'll then run them, and what you see here are reports on the success and the failure rate of these guys. So we could look at some that pass, but those are never any fun. So let's look at the ones that fail. And so here you see that this has got, it's legible. It's got a 67% pass rate, which is not too great, but 92% of the devices passed. Let's find one that's kind of fun to look at here. Let's do sign up here, right? Okay, so you see here that we're running this, in this particular case, on a bunch of different Apple phones. We have over 4,000 different device configurations in the data center. There's a lot to choose from. Chances are you don't want to run it on all 4,000 device configurations. That's going to take a hell of a lot of time. You probably just want to pick the top 5 or 10 for your market, just to do a basic sanity check. What you can see here is we've taken screenshots of every single one of these devices at a different step along the way. So you can kind of see that the UI is changing a little bit as I click down the way, right? And all of a sudden, when I get to filled personal info, here I've got a little lightning bolt and a red circle, which is the universal sign for error, on the 4S. All right? And so here, we've got the 4S, and we can see logs for this guy to see what was actually going on. All right, so we got like one little quick, this is the actual, like the single line where it declares the error. That is, I don't know, kind of okay. But what's more helpful is taking a look at the full history for both the device log and the test failures themselves. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit on this. So you can see here on this one, let's see what the problem was here. Unable to tap element, query mark 4, 214 gave no results, right? So for whatever reason, that particular object was missing from the page. And like clearly there should have been an object there. And so now you can go back and you can manually figure this out yourself and do a little bit of debug section. This is really helpful when you've got a bunch of different form factors at a bunch of different sizes, and you may or may not be able to cover all of those yourself in a reasonable amount of time before deploying out to your beta testers and to your customers, right? So, all right, let's do a little check on our build, see how that guy's doing. Come on, baby. Okay, it's still building. While it's building, I will just kind of come over here to show. We've got a lovely little kind of log here, I guess, running log of the build actually spooling out. Oh, please, we have some warnings. I don't know what I would have done wrong. We'll find out. They're just warnings. They're not actual errors, so we're not in trouble yet. I mean, what build doesn't have, like, you know, a dozen different warnings in it, so. All right, cool. All right, so while that guy is doing its thing, I am actually going to try this because I don't want that to take too long. I have done the good work here of creating a backup app that, if I'm lucky here, reactive iOS. Let's actually see if everyone, oh yeah, everyone got signed up for this one as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and automatically distribute a pre-built app. It's the exact same steps, it's just we're not going to wait for the build to complete, right? To all you guys. So we're going to distribute a new release. So we want it on this one, distribute new release. Oh, we don't want that one, don't want that one. We want our releases. This is the most recent one. Oh, I always forget where the damn distribute button is. This is usability problem 101, right? So let's see here, groups, releases, 5. Can I distribute it again from here? What? That's download. I want distribute. Oh wait, you know where I can go? There we go. I found it. Send it to our testers. All right, so I'm going to send that usability bug back to my team. Next. All right. Distribute. All right, cool. So those of you that have iOS should get an email in just a minute. I'm going to go to the one for Android as well. See if this guy works. Where did I go to? I went to builds, master, distribute. Oh wow, a lot more Android users in the house. We had 14 iOS and 29 Android users. Little real-time population poll there. All right. So, you guys should get an email here in a second, just to kind of prove it here. Here's what we're going to do. Alright. Okay, so, yoink. I have so many windows open. Okay, I'm getting crazy amounts of email. And actually, it also looks like our other build just finished, so that we can all maybe follow along. We'll go on the one that says reactive. So those of you that maybe got 2 emails, and I bet most of you did, you will have gotten one that says reactive for iOS is available. You would have also gotten one that said Bratislava iOS is available. We'll go off of the reactive one, right? So, I'm just doing this here from my phone. New version available. See details. It's going to tell me that I can connect with GitHub. Let's do that. You may be guided through a step to create an account. But once you do the account creation, I know that may take a couple seconds. It'll say, here, do you want to install? And we're going to say, yes, we want to install. It'll give me a thing here. I'll say install. And now, you can see it here down. Yeah, we're down there at the very bottom right here. This guy's installing. All right, so. This is the next thing that you'll get. Untrusted developer. Oh man, that shit's scary, right? Your testers only have to do this once. It's okay. It's all right. Just go to settings. Go to general. Profile and device management right here. And trust this guy. that is required for beta testing because you essentially have to establish a relationship of trust between you as a beta tester and Apple, right? Or me as a developer, right? You as a beta tester, me as a developer. For those of you that are on Android, it will walk you through a very, very similar workflow. The difference is that it will just download the APK, and then you have to say, yes, I know this is scary, but really, really install it. And then I've infected you all, so. All right. So, all right. I've got it up now. It's up. So I'm going to click on I am not laughing. All right, sweet. I got some. So why did the cookie cry? It was feeling crumbly. All right. Why do bees hum? Because they don't know the words. That's good stuff. Don't trust atoms. They make up everything. That was the best one so far. All right, cool. So, all right. If you got, I'm actually going to go ahead and install the Bratislava one here real quick as well, because I know that that one's got a crashing bug in it. Back over here. Did I get the Bratislava one? I'm going to double check and see if I did here. Out of Reactive for Android, Bratislava. Oh, the Android one actually built. All right, I don't have that one, but, so this guy, if, for those of you that got the Android one, it will almost certainly crash when you click that button. Wow, this is just going crazy here. I'll set that down so it doesn't do anything more. So it will almost certainly crash on you. When it crashes on you, I want to kind of come over here, and I want to see, since we're working with a reactive one, I happen to know that that guy already had reactive. This guy has some crashes on it. Let's actually zoom in here a little bit. So this guy's got a few crashes on it. Now let me explain what you're seeing here. This is not just an individual's crash. This is essentially saying, hey, we've got a stack trace that looks almost identical for all of the different devices, right? And so we're going to group these together under a single bug. We're going to say that it was impacted, but it occurred 4 times, right? And because it was just me testing, it only happened to one user, right? Now you can use this to make more intelligent triaging decisions about which bugs you fix, because like, which are you going to want to fix? You're going to want to fix the one user who had 1,000 crashes, or are you going to want to fix the 1,000 users that all experience the same crash? Unless it's your client or your CEO, you probably want to fix the 1,000 users that were impacted by one crash, right? So using that to make intelligent kind of triaging decisions can be super helpful. I'm going to click on this guy, and one of the things that I want to point out here is that in a React Native app, the vast majority of your actual, your business logic, right? Your business logic is really written in JavaScript or in JSX rather than the native code. You're doing a lot of your development there. And so most crash reporting systems, I don't know, Crashalytics or something like that, they're going to give you the native stack trace. I'm here to tell you that as a React Native developer, that's kind of useless. It's really probably not where your actual code was experiencing an error. So one of the nice things about a system like this is that it essentially takes and it creates a stack trace for your JavaScript code. Because we use the build systems in the cloud, it was able to generate a source map automatically by virtue of continuous integration. It was able to pair that source map up with my deployed app. And then when there was an error, it was able to connect that source map back to the JavaScript error so that we could see what was going wrong. Right? So in this case, we got a big, long stack trace here. We can see that the final error was on index.ios.js, line 26. And so at that point, we can go back and we can see what the problem was. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back over here to index.ios. And if I did it kind of properly, let's actually go to, I am right now in the Bratislava one. So I'm going to go back to my reactive one. Boom. All right, so now in the reactive project, again, this is really just a mirror of the project that I started with. I just created it beforehand. It's kind of like, was it the Julia Childs thing where she takes the turkey out of the oven, right? You guys know that one? All right, well. So, what I had in there before deploying it was just track event, right? That was on line 26, and the fact of the matter is that it needed to be this.track event rather than just track event. So it told me which line to go to. I could then kind of use that to deduce what actually needed to be fixed, right? So let's actually take this. We're going to call this to new joke. Save this. So let's pretend for a second that I just fixed that bug, right? I think I did. I changed it to this. We'll call that done. We'll call that fixed, right? So now I've got a change that I've made to my code, and I need to deploy it out to my to my actual deployed app, so that all of my users, all my beta testers, hell, if it's out in the public, in the world, so that all of my end users don't suffer through that crashing bug, and they can actually kind of start using my app. Especially if that's out in the public, that's probably causing me lots and lots and lots of one-star reviews, and so I want to get it fixed as quickly as possible. So here's what I'm going to do. Now that I've got this in here, I'm going to go back to my terminal. Let's do a yoink. I'm going to do another copy paste here to make sure I get my syntax right. Yoink. Oops, wrong one. There, we'll just type it out. CodePush, release, dash. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make this so you guys can see it here. Clear, there we go. CodePush, release, React. What do we call this one? This is reactive.ios, and we're releasing it for iOS. All right, so let me describe what's happening here. CodePush obviously invokes the CodePush CLI. I'm going to release a React Native application. The application I'm releasing is called Reactive iOS, and I'm releasing it for the iOS platform. Right? All that make pretty good sense? All right. So we're going to release this guy out. So at this point, what it's essentially doing is it's bundling up all of my JavaScript. I didn't make any changes to my native code. All my changes were to JavaScript. And so we can then bundle up that JavaScript, upload it to the cloud, and then my phone, my app, right, when it starts up, will ping the cloud and say, hey, Mr. Cloud, do you have an update for me, right? Yes, I do have an update for you. Here, download that. Oh, it's identical. All right, I got to change something here. Let's change something substantial here. Track event. Something interesting. Hopefully this will pick up the actual thing that changed. Oh, thank you. I was doing it on the Android version. Whoever said that, thank you. That would have been here for the next 5 minutes. All right. Now, new joke should pick it up. All right. Yeah, that's the one we're good now? All right. See, this is like paired programming. That's what we're doing. Who doesn't put paired programming, right? All right. There we go. This time we'll pick it up. I freaking love paired programming because if like something goes wrong, I can blame it on the other guy. Like I'm the best developer ever. I don't know what that guy's problem is. Freaking joker. All right. So it's then going to say, hey, do you have an update to do? Yes. All right. Here it is. It's uploading it. Fantastic. So now, if I'm really quick about fixing a bug and I've got something dangerous that's broken out in the wild, I can upload it and it's fixed in a matter of a couple seconds. So let's actually see that guy work in action. I'm just going to bring this guy back up again. Oh, come on. I'm not going to let you see my password. All right. Time player. Now I can bring this up. Let's see here. We're going to kill that guy. Come back to here. All right. Let's hope this works. Everybody, cross your fingers. Oh my God, it worked. All right. So now, here's what we're doing. we've got the update available. We just queried the cloud. Cloud said, hey buddy, yeah, I've got a new version of the app. You want to install it? Yeah, I want to install that guy. So now it's going to install it. It just did a quick update. I mean, you notice it was just lickety-split, flashed. Now, I can get more jokes. Today a girl said she recognized me from the Vegetarian Club, but I'm sure I've never met her before. Oh, that's brilliant. Hey Dad, did you get a haircut? No, I cut them all. Okay, that's old. Boring. My wife is on a tropical fruit diet. The house is full of stuff. It is enough to make a mango crazy. Oh God, priceless. Priceless. All right, so all that was super cool. So one of the things that we updated was we updated that track event piece, right? So let's actually see this guy working in action here. All right, so I'm going to go back over. Make sure I'm in the right app here. I'm in, oops, Reactive iOS. So let's look at our analytics here. So now that we're in analytics, okay, we've got a mighty user of 9. Okay, yeah, we got some folks using it now. That's awesome, great. So let's see here. Average session duration. Oh wow, some people are in the 1 to 30 minutes, right? We're doing good. We got good engagement on our app, right? I got some more devices in here. SC, 5S, 7, cool, right? Countries, oh yeah, Slovakia showing up, 7, rad. Let's see here, right? All that's great, just the normal kind of stuff you'd expect out of your basic analytics package. But the interesting stuff is when you're actually tracking the things that make your app unique, that make your app special, so that you can track engagement funnels, so that you can maybe pass in performance information or debugging information. In my case, I wanted to know the most important information of all, which was which jokes were being called out. So we've got all the different jokes here that get, so we've got an index now of all the jokes. And that's kind of cool, so now we can kind of see what jokes tend to come up more often. We can kind of get a little bit of a range of popularity there. Like, most of these look like they've come up 2 or more times. That's kind of exciting. But where things get really neat from a debugging perspective is what if you wanted to be able to see that kind of, that fire hose of data coming in real time, right? So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head on over to Logflow. This can be really helpful when you're developing the initial app. It can also be helpful just when you're working with someone kind of on the phone or over chat and they're saying, yeah, I've got a huge problem here. And so what this is this is a flow of all of the jokes as they're coming in. Now, it comes in like we poll, I think, about every 5 seconds or something like that. And today, it's just a wide open stream, right? We just log every single one. This particular page is in beta right now. We're thinking about adding in some features that allow you to filter down based on device, based on individual device ID, based upon demographics, based on geographic region, any of that stuff. So that hopefully you as a developer can kind of get a real-time view of how your app is being used and maybe even follow those steps along to see how people are getting to real problems. Because imagine if you can follow that click stream all the way up to the moment where they get a crash, and then it links on over to their crash stack trace. And there you go. You got kind of a good map for how to recreate that bug. All right, so what have we created? We've created madness here is what we've created. Oh, yeah, by the way, I get asked this all the question. I'm going to backtrack a tiny bit. I get asked all the time, is the app update thing, is the CodePush thing hunky-dory? Is it okay with Apple? Is it okay with Google? The answer is an unequivocal yes. I'll tell you how I know that, right? So up until about, I want to say about 3 months ago. About 3 months ago, Apple's terms and conditions said they stopped just right here at WebKit Framework, right? Up until 3 months ago, they basically said, hey, if you're running interpreted code, you cannot update your app without going through the App Store. But if you were running JavaScript in WebView, it's okay, you can update. And that was a bit of a fuzzy line, and I wasn't entirely sure kind of what Apple's stance was on JavaScript that runs in the background thread, in JavaScript core. Well, about 3 months ago, they added in this extra little clause. The exception, right, is when you update code that runs in JavaScript core. And that was essentially Apple's nod, at least that's how I choose to interpret it. That was Apple's nod to say, hey, React Native devs, we know what you're doing. That's cool. You can do that, right? And so we continue to see the number of like CodePush updates. Like any of the problems that we've seen have unequivocally been about other problems with other packages that got put into kind of the application. So thus far, CodePush has been all thumbs up. All right, so let's talk about the kind of madness we've created. What have we done? All right, so we didn't go through the back-end services, so I'll skip that. Not enough time, but suffice it to say, there's a bunch of back-end services that are coming to Mobile Center as well. We've also got, actually, I'll do this at full screen. We also spent a lot of time working on automating some of this stuff, right? So that a single commit spun off a chain reaction of events, right? On a commit, it spun up a build. On successful build, we had the opportunity to run unit tests. I didn't want to write unit tests because I'm irresponsible as a developer and unit tester for chumps. But we could run unit tests, and if those passed, then we went on to our automated UI test. And from our automated UI test, we then went on to distribution and got it out to folks in the audience. And from distribution, we then kind of, because we want to move quick, but we know that sometimes that moving quick will break things, we attached analytics, both in terms of product health with crash reporting, and in terms of user engagement, in terms, well, and analytics, right? And we used that to make more intelligent decisions about the bugs that we were fixing, right? So that was the analytics and the crash reporting, right? And so all of this is free today. In fact, it will be free in perpetuity. The tools that I showed you, so CodePush, free. VS Code, free. Actually, how many people use VS Code today as a primary editor? Half the audience-ish, right? Okay. Totally free. Mobile Center, totally free. So I encourage you guys to go try it out. Hopefully, you can use tools like these to take that percentage of time that you want to be spending coding features, grow it to be something much larger, and maybe even spend a little bit more time reading Hacker News. Yeah, with that, thanks for going with me on this adventure. I really appreciate it. I had a great time. Thanks. So I want to give folks an opportunity to do at least a few minutes of Q&A. If you guys have got questions, I would love to hear them, or feedback, or anything. Yeah.
What about security when it comes to CodePush?
Yeah, great question. So the question was, what about security when it comes to CodePush? So there are a number of different things that we do here to make sure that CodePush is absolutely secure. So those API keys are compiled down with your code, so they don't actually ever persist in any of your JavaScript code. Now, I know theoretically it is possible to break open an actual app, but if by the time someone has actually cracked it open and gotten the key, it doesn't matter too much at that point. They've got access to all of your APIs, all of your secrets. In addition to that, it is not live yet, but I would say within the next month, we are also adding code signing to your packages so that you will be able to sign all the packages that go up, and so that anytime if there's any kind of middle interception, right, that you will know about it. Your package has to be signed on both ends. I have not received any reports as of yet about any kind of interference or any kind of interruption or security risk. We are going about the process right now of also having CodePush, because it's an Azure-based service. It's going through all sorts of government compliance tests as well. So hopefully by the time we come out the other end of this, we will be certified for use in, well, at the very least, US and EU government use. So that's a pretty high bar, and so I have strong confidence that we'll kind of get through that. What else? Ready?
And I build without this code.
Can you build without Xcode? Yeah. So the only thing that you really need to do is you need to assign your certificate, your provisioning profile. I happen to kind of open Xcode that one time just to put in my wildcard cert, but the build can happen entirely in the cloud. There's no reason. Now, I will say that it is kind of a painful experience to do local development without Xcode at all. Like, theoretically, you can build in the cloud and then debug from there, but like, then you're waiting 7 or 8 minutes every time that you want to do a deployment to yourself. It just kind of sucks. So, possible, desirable, probably not, right? But if, like, let's say that you're in a pinch and you just need to do a deployment or you need to do a build, but you're on a Windows machine right now, it'll totally get you out to distribution and that kind of thing. There's a question right behind you, I think, maybe, somewhere. Oh, it was over there.
Do you support other repositories or just GitHub?
Yeah, we do support other repositories. So the question was, what source code repositories do we support? So today, we support Visual Studio Team Services, GitHub, and Bitbucket. Those are the 3 that we support today. We are adding support for additional ones. We're adding them on a cadence of about 1 new a month. So if there are Git repos that you guys use and we don't support them yet, please, please, please let us know. Give us that feedback. I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with Intercom. I'll just bring it up here real quick, just for those of you who may not be. Oh, it's right here. There we are. So, in the bottom right-hand corner of all of the pages within the dashboard, there's this little round button here. And you can use that. Our engineers, we have a global engineering team. I'm personally based out of Seattle. We also have engineering teams in San Francisco, in Boston, in Denmark, in Seoul, South Korea. Our engineering team is online pretty much 24 hours a day, at least someone. Right now, our average that I saw was that average response time was something like 329 minutes. So it's not right away. It's 4-ish hours. But if you're having trouble, you find something that's missing, you want to vote for a particular source code repository, whatever. We're extraordinarily eager for feedback from you as developers so that we can make the product more awesome, right? More features, more everything that you need to solve your problems. So have conversations with us. I'm regularly on chat with developers, just shooting the shit about kind of what they're doing, how they're using Multicenter. And I would love to hear from you as well. So chat with us anytime. What else? One more back there. Yeah.
Is there any way to connect these with Jenkins? Let's say we have lots of jobs, pipelines. How is it possible? Is there any REST API?
Yeah. So the question was, is it possible to connect any of these services with Jenkins? The answer is absolutely yes. 100% you can. So you may recall that earlier I showed where I was using Google Forms. I'll just kind of bring the thing back up again. See if I've still got it open. Well, yeah, here we are. I was using Google Forms here. And here I'm making a RESTful call. Right? And I'm, got lots of variables. I'm constituting it here. But everything in the dashboard that I showed you, all of that is built on public REST APIs. So if you want to integrate with Jenkins, if you want to integrate with Google Forms, if you want to integrate with, I don't know, if you want to build a node script that does some fancy automation from your local terminal, you can absolutely do that. All of our documentation, all of our APIs are documented online. If you find it, that there's something missing, there's an API that hasn't been exposed yet, I've zoomed in everything so everything's kind of small. Yoink. Reference. Yeah, so here's our API docs down here, right? So we've got API docs online. I encourage you to use those. Our intention here is for all of our APIs to be public. We try and keep as little private as possible because, well, frankly, you guys do things that I would never expect with APIs, right? That's the beauty of APIs. They make everything extensible in really marvelous ways. And so use those APIs to integrate with your Jenkins server. All right, we'll do maybe one more. We have any more? That's all right. All right. Well,
Production build for App Store.
yes, it is possible to build for App Store. We also have fast lane integration. So if you want to go straight from a branch directly to the store, you can absolutely do that. I find that most of my time is spent going, to my beta testers rather than kind of into production. But it is 100% possible. All right. Well, I will be back here. So I don't know if maybe some of you might have seen me. I was here at ReactiveConf 2016. So about, what, 8 months ago, 10 months ago? I had an extraordinary time, but I was only able to be here for 2 days at the time. It was a very, very short visit. And so I'm thrilled to say that, that I'm going to be back here for ReactiveConf 2017 again. If you guys use the product or just do cool stuff with React Native in between now and then, I would love it if you came up and talked to me at ReactiveConf 2017. I was talking with Vicky about it earlier, Samuel. It's going to be freaking off the hook, even bigger than last year. So if you haven't registered for it, do it. I'm excited about it. I'm bringing my wife with me. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a vacation. It'll be fabulous. With that, enjoy the food, the beverages. Come and talk with me afterwards. Thank you all for coming out. I had a lovely time. Thank you so much.